This episode is brought to you by Audi. The road is calling. Embrace the thrill of the drive with the all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron. Featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and advanced Audi tech. It's not just a new EV. It's a new way to experience driving. The all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron is here. The next chapter of Audi starts now.
The PC gave us computing power at home, the internet connected us, and mobile let us do it pretty much anywhere. Now generative AI lets us communicate with technology in our own language using our own senses. But figuring it all out when you're living through it is a totally different story. Welcome to Leading the Shift, a new podcast from Microsoft Azure. I'm your host, Susan Ettlinger. In each episode, leaders will share what they're learning to help you navigate all this change with confidence. Please join us. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
At Capella University, you can learn at your own pace with our FlexPath learning format. Take 1 or 2 courses at a time and complete as many as you can in a 12-week billing session. With FlexPath, you can even finish the bachelor's degree you started in 22 months for $20,000. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu. Fastest 25% of students. Cost varies by pace, transfer credits, and other factors. Fees apply.
You're listening to the Animation Addicts podcast with the Rotoscopers, episode 340, Not Just a Goof, 30 Years of Standing Out. Welcome to the Animation Addicts podcast with the Rotoscopers, the #1 place to get your animation fix with animation addicts just like you. Each episode, we dive into the wonderful world of animation featuring Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar, and everything in between. From hilarious discussions and movie reviews to interviews with industry insiders, this show's mission is to brighten your day through our love of animation. So hop on your nerdy couch, grab some snacks, and get ready to hang out with your animation besties because it's time to dive into today's episode. Hey there, animation addicts. I'm Chelsea Robson.
And I'm Morgan Stradling.
Today we are going back in time to our childhood, a moment that has grown inside of us and is way bigger than anyone who actually made it ever thought it would be. And this is a Goofy movie. That we're actually talking about the documentary about the Goofy movie, which has recently been made, and it goes through the entirety of the process, and it's really fun. It's made basically by fans, but on Disney+.
Yes, the movie is called Not Just a Goof. It is released on April 7th. Today, which is when we're recording this, when this comes out, it'll probably be the day after. But this is the 30th anniversary of a Goofy movie. So it perfectly timed out that the release was going to celebrate that. So it couldn't be any better. And let's jump into it.
Go further with the American Express Business Gold Card. Earn 3 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels when you book through AmexTravel.com. Whether your destination is a business conference or a client meeting, your purchases will help you earn more points for future trips. Experience more on your travels with Amex Business Gold. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold Card. Built for business by American Express.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was getting frustrated by your forms. Now, Taxes is uploading your forms with a snap, and a TurboTax expert will do your taxes for you. One who's backed by the latest tech, which cross-checks millions of data points for absolute accuracy, all of which makes it easy for you to get the most money back, guaranteed. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
Chronic migraine is 15 or more headache days a month, each lasting 4 hours or more.
Botox, onabotulinum toxin A, prevents headaches in adults with chronic migraine before they start. It's not for those with 14 or fewer headache days a month. It prevents on average 8 to 9 headache days a month versus 6 to 7 for placebo.
Prescription Botox is injected by your doctor. Effects of Botox may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away, as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness can be signs of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Side effects may include allergic reactions, neck and injection site pain, fatigue, and headache. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Don't receive Botox if there's a skin infection. Tell your doctor your medical history, muscle or nerve conditions, including ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects.
Why wait? Ask your doctor, visit BotoxChronicMigraine.com, or call 1-800-44-BOTOX to learn more.
All right, some basic information about this. The film is called Not Just a Goof. It's a documentary on Disney Plus being released April 7th, 2025. The directors are Eric Kimmelton and Christopher Ninnis. The writer is Mason Trueblood. And it stars Jason Marsden, Bill Farmer, and the original director of A Goofy Movie, Kevin Lima. So if you haven't had a chance, I did in the previous episode, I interviewed the filmmakers. So I interviewed Eric, Christopher, and Kevin Lima. And we had about an hour together, and we talked about A Goofy Movie. We talked about the documentary and everything in between. So it was a really, really fun discussion, and I was just really over the moon that I got the chance to do that and talk with those guys, because this was just a really fun movie to watch. And it's one of those movies where, we were talking with them, like, why doesn't this exist? And it doesn't exist because it was A Goofy Movie was not your big tentpole animation films. It was a Disney Toon Studios film. It was actually a Disney Television Group. They started doing these spin-offs of their TV shows, and it was like the C team basically
Right.
when it came to animation. And so it just wasn't going to get the resources, obviously, that these other ones were going to get. It wasn't going to get necessarily the making ofs that came on the VHS. Well, not really VHS, but definitely once the DVDs started coming around, we got more of those.
Mm-hmm.
So
This was actually, fun fact, this was the very first DVD I ever purchased with a DVD player.
nice. Our first DVDs were Happy Gilmore and Mary Poppins. Really random, because we were going on a road trip, and my dad had a little computer for work, and I think we were going to watch those on our road trip. But
nice.
I wish A Goofy Movie were one of my original ones, but I definitely had A Goofy Movie on VHS.
Also, the Goofy Movie soundtrack was for the longest time, the first and only album that I purchased on iTunes. So like I could go back and like listen to the entire thing. And so forever, anytime that I had a new iPhone or whatever, sometimes the only album that could come up was this one. And so sometimes, like, if it caught onto Bluetooth or something, it just automatically started playing this.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, nice. Goofy Movie.
I had the soundtrack. I remember listening to it all the time. It was on every single Disney movie playlist that I had, and I listened to this so much, so we must have a CD of it. And yeah, this movie is so interesting. So I guess we'll talk a little about the movie, and then we'll jump into the documentary. But we obviously talked at length in episode 30, rotoscopers.com/30 of the Animation Addicts podcast, where we review A Goofy Movie. But there's just something special about A Goofy Movie because it resonates with you. And that's one thing you don't realize until you get older, is that you start talking to other people about this movie, and you kind of think, oh, this is your little hidden gem because it's just a Goofy movie.
Right.
And then it turns out that everyone else loves this movie too. And then as they dive into the documentary, they talk about how this just had such an impact on people for a variety of reasons. And then it's grown to be something even more. I was just at Disneyland, and I think obviously because the anniversary is coming up, but the people were wearing Goofy Movie merch all over the place. Spirit jerseys, backpacks. There's, for the 30th anniversary, there's a Max dressed as Powerline.
Oh, perfect.
Popcorn bucket. And it's him doing the move where he's like pointing. He's wearing the sunglasses. He's like pointing into the crowd. It's so funny. And so this thing has just taken another life of its own.
Well, I just remember in 2015, because they talk about 2015, the D23 Expo, when they come in, and I just remember being like, why don't they have an entire Powerline concert? I don't understand.
Bring Tevin Campbell back.
Yes.
And have him dress up, get him some nice backup dancers, and at D23 they just needed to do a Powerline concert. And then
oh my gosh.
I think I was at that D23.
I think you were.
I don't know, but I think I had to
time.
leave a day early or something, and I think I missed that panel. But
I was in Nashville.
They were
at the
turning
time, and you sent me, or maybe I just saw pictures of somebody saying like with a Powerline in concert, concert 1995 like T-shirt that somebody mocked one up. And I was like, oh my gosh, if Powerline was going on concert, I would absolutely road trip to go to this.
Yes, yeah, the Powerline World Tour shirts, which some of the fans, print shops had made, and now, I mean, those are everywhere. It's just, it's great. So this movie obviously has an impact, and so the Not Just a Goof documentary was something. So we talked with the filmmakers, but it was something that Eric and Chris just had an idea they wanted to do. They were like, man, why doesn't this movie exist? And I looked, and there was a making of that was released on Disney Channel. And it's about 30 minutes, but not really, it's hard to find, obviously, and not published anywhere. Sometimes they'll do those for the Disney Channel, and then they just, ride off into the sunset. You never see them again. Mm-hmm. And so they, because Eric is the nephew of Kevin Lima, and Chris, was in the animation world, they kind of had access to Kevin. And they said, well, we want to do this. And then obviously Kevin has this amazing archive of all the stuff that he's worked on, and he has all these tapes, which I think was really brilliant and allowed this documentary to be a little bit different than maybe other stuff you see, is because of the lack of technology, but they had technology to an extent. They had to send these tapes back and forth to France. And so we get Kevin just, explaining different scenes, acting out, giving feedback, and it's just really fun.
Yeah, no, that was one of the coolest parts. Like, first off, he just looks so little, and you really get a sense of like the ages of people, and it's like you're like, you're my age, and you're making a Goofy movie. I don't know. It's one of those.
Oh yeah, at the time he was
At the time he was our age. He was just like
he'd been at Disney probably about 10 years.
Yeah, and he's making this big old thing that makes a huge impact, but he doesn't know that until it's like
a Goofy movie came out the same year as Pocahontas, and I think if you were to say which has the bigger cultural impact, it would be a Goofy movie.
Yes.
And what I really liked, they had these animated sequences that were 2D animated.
So funny.
I talked with them. They worked with a studio in Colombia, and I just really thought they added a little extra layer. Sometimes in documentaries, you'll see where they'll do like, okay, we don't have the footage for this, and so we're just going to do, it's almost like a storyboard. They don't have the budget to fully like animate or like recreate scenes that they're talking about. But here, they push the envelope, and so we have, all the characters that are involved in the making of this as their Goof counterparts. And so we have, I love Bill Farmer's. It just looks like Bill Farmer. I don't know why. I mean,
it does just look like Bill Farmer.
It's like so great. So it's Bill Farmer as a Goof, and I guess Bill Farmer, and I've never realized this, but he wears kind of like these button down like sort of shirts that are, not necessarily the Hawaiian shirts, but like that style.
Yeah.
And so then we get Kevin Lima in here, and Jeffrey Katzenberg. It's just hilarious. So I really enjoyed the Jeffrey Katzenberg scenes of this.
Yes.
Because Jeffrey, was pretty critical to making this movie and championing it.
Yeah. Well, and, Jeffrey, it's such an interesting part of the Disney history, especially now. I don't know if it's like he just doesn't, maybe he's just like, I've got my own studio, obviously.
Which he then sold, but.
Right. But it's like, he was done bad at Disney. Mm-hmm. And so he's probably is just like, no, I'm not.
Never again.
Never touching anything there again. And I'm just focusing on anything that was ever DreamWorks. And if you want to talk about anything DreamWorks, I wonder if he would be willing to jump in on some of these, looking back. I don't know if DreamWorks has, do they have a critical fan base? Not a critical fan base, but like a critical amount of people that would want these types of documentaries. Like, I know for like something like Prince of Egypt, obviously I would assume everybody would want something like that, but it's like, how many movies would he be willing to go back and say the whole story on how that was made at DreamWorks? Because I know he's not doing anything now for Disney. So
yeah, I mean, they're making Epic Universe is opening soon, which is the new theme park at Universal Orlando, and one of the lands is for How to Train Your Dragon, and that it looks amazing, and people are freaking out. But as far as like fandom wise, I don't think DreamWorks has ever hit this like critical mass where it's just like I'm a DreamWorks fan and that is my identity. Whereas Disney fans do exist, obviously, and are a big deal.
Yes.
So they're a big deal, a really big deal. Well, no, they're just,
but they are a thing, and
the fandom can carry them, and they have their own, fan event held by Disney.
Right, man. That whole, how do you create a universe within itself? Because that's what Disney is. It's people who are fans of the company, are fans of the whole thing to some degree, and just growing up. I think it had a lot to do with our generation, the millennial generation, as we were growing up and we were like finally able to own these things. And the fact that we were able to own all of the VHSs and complete the package, that we bought in more ways than one to the Disney as a brand. And so I think that's one of the reasons why it just happened to be around at the right time to get the ability for people to do that.
Yeah, and I just felt so bad because they worked so hard. Kevin and his team, they worked so hard on this, and they were really pushing it to be something different. It's funny, they showed a clip from the DuckTales movie, and it's just night and day difference. Like, I didn't necessarily grow up with that movie, but because I didn't have it, and I feel like you have a different relationship with movies that you had on VHS because they were you had a very limited number you were able to watch from, right? But like going back and watch that, I was like, this is just like, it's just an episode.
Yeah,
basically.
it is. It's
an
not...
extended episode. And this one is like, I don't even consider this to be, obviously it's related to Goof Troop, but it's its own thing.
Yeah, I don't even connect it to Goof Troop. I feel like the movie itself is the bigger IP, the bigger, and almost as if Goof Troop was spawned off of the movie when it was the opposite, but that's how I view it.
Yeah, absolutely. And a Goofy movie, like we were talking about, I mean, they made it this musical, and the songs are so good. They have a variety of songs. They have the Powerline songs that are the pop songs. They're supposed to emulate. I always thought it was sort of a Michael Jackson when I was younger because I wasn't really familiar with Prince. Obviously, it's more of a Prince R&B guy. Probably the mix of like all of generally some of the influences of that time. But yeah, and then they have like the more traditional, songs in the film that are going to carry the plot. Like the first one with Max, what is it called? Is it Not Just a Goof? The name of the song?
Well, no. It's to
After Today.
After Today, yeah.
Yeah, After Today, and then On the Open Road, hilarious. There's and then Nobody Else But You.
I loved the point where it's like, okay, we're gonna have them dancing on the roofs, and the guy is doing the the dance in the video. I was like, oh, that's amazing.
It's the best. It really is. So I mean, and then they wanted to make it something special. So the storyline between Max and Goofy, and they really toned down Goofy. They didn't make Goofy how to set up your home TV, how to play football, like where he was just the comic relief. And we get a lot of that, but because they push the envelope on the relationship that much more, like we get this deeper version of Goofy. And to me, this is Goofy. Like this is Goofy has feelings, and Goofy has emotions, and Goofy cares about his son. Goofy isn't just this oblivious person existing in the world.
Yeah.
So, are there other, parts of the documentary that stood out? One thing, they don't want us to talk about this because we saw this early in detail, but they really bookend the film quite well with a personal story from Chris and his relationship with his father. And I'll leave it at that. You can watch it, you can find out for yourself. But I really liked that because it helped to add another layer and depth to this film as the documentary to kind of show the emotional impact and the generational impact that it had on people. This wasn't just a movie, it's not just a goof. It's not just a movie. This is something so much more.
Yeah. Yes. There are two things that really stand out that I want to talk about. And going along with that is also the amount of people that considered this an African-American movie. They were saying that, yes, this is basically the first African-American character in Disney. And there were many people who were very much like, this was my character. This is me on screen. And I was just like, wow. I mean, I don't know. I just see Goofy as a dog. So I don't like put in race, but it was, the fact that he had all the R&B stuff in there and it did. I just felt like this was a very universal character, no matter what race, no matter what creed, no matter where you come from. Like, this story of a father-son trying to reunite in some way, in a way of emotionally, is just something that bridges so many cultural divides. And that was cool to see. The other thing that I really liked was how they put together Eye to Eye. And they actually, the guy who choreographed the entire dance for all of them, and then they had these different dancers acting like their Goof counterpart. And it just like how well they did that. Like, this is the 15-year-old doing the perfect doing the perfect cast. This is Goofy doing the perfect cast, and this is the power line doing that. And it was just like, oh my gosh, they're so on point.
That was one of my favorite moments to see. I love behind the scenes footage. So obviously, if you like behind the scenes footage, this is going to have tons of it. You're gonna you obviously get the stories, the anecdotes from production, but then you get things you maybe haven't seen before. And this reminded me a few years ago, back when Disney had their Oh My Disney sort of brand. And it's still
it's so dumb.
Which is so dumb. It's so dumb, right? Like, basically,
they tried so hard with that.
Yes, well, that's the problem. It was very corporate, trying to replicate something that had this fan energy. And so if you don't know what Oh My Disney was, about 10 years ago, maybe 2015, 2014, they invented this brand called Oh My Disney. And it was basically to capture and to fill and to steal what the fans were doing. Fans came up with memes. Fans were doing funny things online and really resonating with each other. And so Disney wanted a piece of the pie.
Of course.
So we're going to do Oh My Disney. It's going to be our fan version of this, and we're going to be funny and memey and all the things. And it was just so dumb. So they had like blog posts.
It's the meme of, hey there, fellow kids.
Exactly. It just had the energy was so off. It just felt very corporate. It didn't. And so I guess one of them is that they released for Hercules the side by side of, I think, Zero to Hero and the Muses and the background footage of the women performing that song, and then it was like side to side with the finished version.
Yeah.
And so you got to see, wow, this is what they filmed. This is like, wow, that was exactly spot on. Maybe they changed this a little bit. It's just really cool. And this feels like something that should have been released by Oh My Disney 10 years ago. I'm so glad they didn't, though. And now we just get it on this documentary. But I love stuff like that. You see like the lines of, so you can get perspective and understand where the characters are in the scene. So when you're animating it, you can keep people, right on model, and it's the best. Okay, this, like, can we talk about one of the best endings for a Disney animated film ever?
Yeah.
Like, it's this big road trip movie, and it's leading, there's so many things that have to go right with one, getting into the concert, getting on stage.
Yeah.
And it's just so good. And the song has just really climactic. I talked with Kevin about this as well, but there's different points that they hit that all the emotional beats are resolved in this song, with Roxanne, with Goofy, with Max, and it's just really, really fun. And
he did it!
So much fun.
I just hear
yeah.
PJ in the back. He did it!
Oh, we love you, Rob Paulson. That's a good one. So anyway.
Yeah, there are so many things that they did right. And the music was one of them. The story beats were the other one. And if you're able to get all of those things, it's lightning in a bottle. And that's just what Goofy movie was. And I liked how they went ahead and they realized how in 2015, after that D23 event, he said, there's like, yeah, it was after that I was like, I'm going to like look and see what people are doing and saying. And it was after that he found all of this trove of content that people had written and had posted on YouTube. And they did show, and they did a shout out to a friend of mine, Ted Sowers. He did the live action remake of After Today. And then he did that like right after high school. And I just remember him saying like, you know how people, they bake or make things for fun. This is what I do. I remake movies like this for fun. And so that's what he did as, right after high school, he just did that. And then later on is when he decided to remake the Lester's Possum Park and then go ahead and invite all of the real life people to be part of it, which was, I think that was just amazing. It was, and the fact that they all came around and did it was a thing that just like, everybody was just so happy that something that they did 30 years ago still resonates. And I think that that's like, there's so many people who would not be willing to do that. There was so many people who wouldn't be I guess they wouldn't be willing to join in with the fans and be silly. They would just be like, yeah, like, of course I am, of course you like it. I'm not going to show up and be in your little skit thing, so it's the fact that they were all willing to be a part of it. And it actually, the fact that Bill Farmer and Jason actually kind of fit the part still, like the goofy old dad and Jason like fits the kid kind of look. It was so much fun and invited me to be part of it. And I was like, oh, thanks. So like there's a very split second image of me in the background of this documentary too. So I'm the girl in the purple dress going, yay. But anyway, the fact is, like, they were able to see all these moments of how it's led to so many different people just loving this. And like we mentioned before, if they would have, in 2015, I think that was like probably a critical mass year around that time when our generation was just like, we had money and we were way more Disney fans than ever before. And they really could have done so much more with this movie at that time. And they just have always slept on this, and it's sad.
No, it is sad because any film that there's a lot of heart and, lots of really great people behind it. I mean, that's a lot of movies, obviously.
Yes.
But then when the movie is really good, you understand, okay, that's a stinker, that's a dud.
Yeah.
You get it. But when the movie is just so special and good and amazing, and it doesn't get its time in the sun. Now, looking back at this, it's just so sad because this one was initially pushed from its November release date to the spring because of The Swan Princess and Pagemaster.
Quite the year.
And we know how petty at the same time Disney was. Instead of just allowing their original movie to stand on its own, they re-released The Lion King during that time in November to really. We talked about this recently with Swan Princess, or I was talking with someone that just to really screw over Richard Rich,
right?
Which was lame, but yeah. So it gets this April release date, and they had a really pared down release. Although it seemed, they were doing some of the more traditional circuit shows, the news shows, the morning shows. Bill Farmer was out there for it seemed like first time actually him as a person doing the voice, which was previously not something they did. So they did try, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing that I thought was so funny from the very beginning, and this was like the perfect way to open this up, is they're watching the DVD. And the music video from Parachute Express, Doctor, do. Like, I don't know. I like, to this day, it was never. I never purchased whatever it was trying to promote. I don't really. It's a Parachute Express song called Dr. Looney's Remedy. And yeah, that was something I was apparently supposed to buy or be interested. I had no idea what it was, but the VHS memories.
Yes,
from the previews that came on the VHS are just funny to me because they were less skippable than the DVD era ones. DVD you could kind of push a button, but this one you had to like stand up and push the rewind button.
You had to stand up.
Stand up. So many times just you ended up watching them, and this was just a really bizarre thing. And I just thought that was perfect because if you know, you know sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like most people maybe like a Goofy movie, but didn't grow up during the VHS era will have no idea. And I loved he was talking, I think it was Chris. He was like, oh, you remember this? And the person he was talking to was like, no. Like, oh, okay, well.
You didn't have the VHS.
Yeah, I clearly, it was just funny because I'm like, I knew. I remember that. This was a big deal. It was funny. It was random. So I think that was just perfect because it hit that extra layer of if like this was you during this era, like you know exactly what we're talking about here.
Yes. And I think that's a big difference between like what the corporate side of it leans into versus just everything that's contrived versus how this documentary was made, basically like literally just out of his love, not just for his uncle, but for the experiences that this movie had and the love that he has for this product, it's and that resonates, as opposed to something that's super contrived and hey, buy this other thing, everything about this movie was done right, not just the movie, a Goofy movie itself, but the documentary. And I'm glad that it's coming out in this way because it was told from a true perspective as opposed to, once again, just this corporate side of like, I guess people like this, so throw something together, Morgan and I had been talking about how Disney doesn't do really any promotion for their documentaries, which is sad because this one was really good. But I think that also gives it a chance for the filmmakers to go out and contact the people who actually care. So I'm really glad that they were able to talk to you, and I wish I could have been there.
That was such a bummer because as they were, the way that we got connected with this is they just reached out directly to us. And I'm like, whoa, and that happens from time to time, but it's just so sad. Just
not
like the
Disney.
Original film. Yeah. Just like the original film where it kind of gets pushed to the side and like, here's your release. Then likewise, the documentary kind of trying to tell that story and obviously tell the story of the making of the film gets a similar lack of promotion. And it's just a bit sad because, man, you worked so hard on this. And it's really exciting that they got picked up by Disney. And obviously Don Hahn was involved as an executive producer.
Good old
But
Don.
again, it's like, oh, come on. Can we not get... But it's like, why do you have this big streaming service if you're not really going to give everything the time of day? Like, why are you going to spend $200 million on a stupid Star Wars show? And that's going to bomb and tank and be an embarrassment to you. But when you could put just like a little effort into some of these other things that are pretty good, a lot of the documentaries are fabulous.
Yeah.
And really amazing, really well done. And they just don't care. I get the press emails, and it seems like, well, I was at Disneyland last week. So at some point in the tail end of last week, did they finally get an email directly about this? And that was the first time that like the Disney publicity had pushed anything about it. Which was sad to me. So go check out our interview. That's episode 339, rotoscopers.com/339. And yeah, then go, hopefully by this point you've checked this out. But if you haven't, I hope this is good enough of a tease for you to go and watch Not Just a Goof on Disney Plus, because it's definitely worth your time. If you are a fan of these behind the scenes featurettes like me, like this was the reason that I would buy DVDs.
Yeah.
Because I want my collection, but I wanted to be able to have to see how they made these things. And I would buy these specifically so I could watch those and watch them again and watch them again. And now those things are kind of dying away because of physical media sort of dying away. So we don't get those as much for new things, which is such a bummer. But I'm really grateful that things like this still exist. I mean, this is a lot of work that
yes,
Chris and Eric had to do.
Yes.
This was they started this in 2020. So it's like 5 years just to get this off the ground and rolling. And, obviously there's a lot of work that.
I mean, just in pulling it all together, watching it all, and then deciding what is it. There's so much effort and so much work, so much love that came into this.
I really enjoyed Jason Marsden.
Yes.
And Bill Farmer. I feel like they get it. They've always been really involved in a Goofy movie. Obviously, so Bill Farmer could be one of two ways. Bill Farmer could be like, I'm the voice of Goofy. Oh, yuck, I'm the voice of Goofy. And just phone it in. But he has always been really open and gracious to the fans. I remember one of our first interviews was with Bill Farmer.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how we got connected with him. Somehow did.
Somehow. I think I just went to his website.
Yeah, I did an interview, and that was just really kind and gracious. And he he respects and loves his character so much. And then Jason Marsden, who I always mix up with James Marsden, both of which Kevin Lima has worked with. Because Jason was in Enchanted, and Kevin Lima is the director of Enchanted, if you didn't know. And I'm like, man, I mix these up all the time in my mind. In my mind, I know they're two separate people, but I feel like just subconsciously I maybe say the wrong one. But Jason.
Yeah.
And obviously this is one of his biggest roles. He's done quite a bit over the years, but he's always given back to the fans. And I think, what you were involved with the live action Lester's Possum Park, right?
Yeah.
he was there and he did that. And so was Bill.
Yeah. No, they both. So as far as we had some time in between, like as they were getting things set up, where everybody was just kind of standing around talking, and he was just like, yeah. Like, they did not pay him to come and do this. They paid for his flight, they paid for his hotel and everything, but they didn't pay him anything. He did that for free. Both of them did. And they were just like, yeah, we want to be part of something this high quality, because the first one they did was so on point and so good. Mm-hmm. And so they knew that it would be a good thing. And so that was one reason why. But he was just like, yeah, no, this movie obviously has such a good spot for me, because it's been something that people always talk about, people always love, and mm-hmm. He's like, it was just something that when I did it, it just felt special as well. So, and both of them are so nice, just as general people. They were both just so nice to just hang around and chat around with.
I really loved that they ended this with probably about, 20 to 30 minutes of just talking about the fan impact. Mm-hmm. And, it's so funny. They show different clips of like TikTok videos and people talking about like, I know him.
I know.
There's a guy I follow on Instagram. He obviously is a TikToker, but I just see him on Instagram. And he does, I think his name is Dimitri. Yeah. And he does Powerline dance videos. Mm-hmm. And it's my favorite videos. He does so many other ones, but his Powerlines particularly, he has the full suit and he's just great. So yeah, I really, really love that.
Yeah. What was your biggest takeaways from the interview? What were your thoughts?
Just how gracious and excited they were to talk about this, to be doing this, for this to finally be coming out. And they were very generous with their time. They
gave an hour.
No, I'm used to the, all right, it's press junket day. You get 8 to 10 minutes.
Right.
And it's like, okay. And then you still over prepare and write like a million questions, but you're like, which ones am I going to ask? Are they going to have short answers? Are they going to have long answers? If they kind of are a bit long winded, then basically I get to ask 3, maybe 4. Mm-hmm. But having a full hour really gave me a lot of time just to go everywhere and ask questions that you wouldn't hit in a normal interview.
Yeah.
And I just appreciated that. And I felt that it was very gracious of their time. And yeah, I just was thrilled that they reached out to us. It was funny because initially, one of our friends, Jonathan North, he had watched this. He had the screener and he was like, hey, that's Chelsea. Because they have a clip of the Lester's Possum Park live action. And there you are in it.
There I am.
So funny. Yeah, so you're in this, Chelsea. But yeah, I just was grateful that they were able to talk to us and spend so much time with us. And we had, we're doing some recording things, and so they had to stay, a little bit after, and they were really fun to talk to. And I just want this to do well. Like, I've already seen a lot of excitement and promotion. People are excited about this, and I just hope everyone goes and sees it. And not go, but there's nothing to go to do.
Yeah,
you can't go to the theater to see it, but like get on Disney Plus and watch it and tweet about it. And that's very like millennial of me to call it tweet, but post about it on all your social media and share the love, tell your friends. So what would you rate this? I mean, documentaries are a little different. I give it 4 stars. It was just really solid film. It was set up very well. It had all the different moments in a behind the scenes featurette bonus, documentary that you would like. And it had this payoff emotionally with the story that they were able to weave in. And it was just fun to see all these characters back and how they created one of my favorite films of all time.
Yeah, I would say 4 stars is a solid number for this. They really go in deep and they hit all the points that really matter to the people that love this. And it is just full of that love and that appreciation, and the fan community is part of it. And so I think that is
I think that makes it definitely something that people should go watch. Also, the fact that I'm in it, so that brief one screenshot,
like less than it's like one frame.
It's literally one frame in there of like, hey, you do have to pause, but you should pause and you should go see this. So 4.5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars for that.
Awesome. So to celebrate a Goofy movie, go watch Not Just a Goof, and then go watch a Goofy movie, and then go share and talk about it. So thank you to the filmmaking team of Not Just a Goof for giving a screener for this and allowing us to watch this so we can podcast about it and talk about it. This was a lot of fun. Now, after this, we will be sure to let us know your thoughts. Go to rotoscopers.com/340 and give us your thoughts about a Goofy movie, maybe the impact that it had on you, and then as well as just some thoughts about this film. And you can give us a call at 406-646-6575 or go to rotoscopers.com/voicemails and give us a voicemail and leave your thoughts there, and we'll include them in our future mailbag episode. And for our next few series, I feel like we just need to stop mentioning these because our schedule's constantly getting messed up and wonky, and we're moving things and shifting things. We have a few episodes that have been recorded a while, but with different things we want to prioritize. And so now we're kind of going back on our live-action remake series. It started as a Disney Plus live-action remake, and for the most part it is, but we are going to be doing Snow White, which now at this point it's been out a few weeks.
Right.
So, the things that we talk about as far as like the initial box office performance, that'll be dated in time. But yeah, so go subscribe, give us 5 stars on all of your favorite podcast things, especially Apple iTunes. And until next time, we are the Rotoscopers. As with my interview, it's like how could you not talk about like the movie itself when you're doing part of when you're talking about it. It's like Roxanne, I love Roxanne.
Right.
I love that like Roxanne cosplay is a thing.
Yeah,
and it's like a perfect cosplay because she's just a human. Yeah. She's just a dog, but she's like human body, and you just like throw on a pair of Bermuda shorts and. A t-shirt, and then just kind of do your nose with like a little darker thing, and get the wig and the ears. It's awesome. I love it.
And also, I think I've seen people doing what's her friend's name?
Stacy,
talk to me, baby. It's just like, it's so funny. Like, people actually are so invested in this that it lives for so long. I'm amazed.
And the AC is going to be out, and I'm like, use it. So I'm thinking my theme is going to be Powerline Goes Rainforest. Too much? Roxanne. Oh. Tap him. Just do that whole scene. Whoa. Oh, sorry. Hands touch.
Oh my gosh, it's so amazing.
I was hoping you would wave to me.
Final number.
Join Powerline for the final number. That's amazing. Go on in, Daddy. Go on. Good boy. Daddy. Good Daddy.
Oh
my gosh, it's so good.
Today we're going back in time to one of those moments that paved the way for a generation. And I know you think that we're talking about some kind of big... I know you think we're talking about some kind of big thing, but this is... No, wait, what am I going to say?
This is a big thing.
No, I'm saying like some big... well, I'm trying to say something like international...
Oh. Like the Oklahoma City bombing, which probably happened in 95, right?
Right. Yes.
Change the generation. 9/11.
I mean, it's on par with the never mind. I'm done.
Start over.
Okay.
Blooper.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can just pay to get a new battery and my life will be better. $150.
Money, who said money doesn't buy happiness? Obviously, they didn't own a Mac. Your line is,
I will free the cheating anytime. You've been listening to the Animation Addicts podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and be sure to leave us a 5-star review. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you want to help spread the word, be sure to share the podcast with your friends on social media. Just don't forget to tag us at Rotoscopers on Instagram and use the hashtag AnimationAddicts. For all the links and full show notes for this episode, go to rotoscopers.com/podcast. Now, if you still can't get enough for your animation fix, be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and visit rotoscopers.com for more animation news, reviews, and interviews. Thanks for listening.